Good morning, everyone. So today we're going to be talking about a couple different things. I usually talk a little bit more about how, Donald Trump is a wannabe fascist dictator and has been making excuses about how he is a dictator and everything like that. I mean, we know that he's batshit crazy. Though also, I want to talk about some errors I find, and not even just errors, some complacency and things that just disgust me within the Democratic Party. And so I'm not, the tone of today's show is, I'm sorry, but I have no shits to give. I have no shits to give when it comes to just highlighting the utter cruelty, hypocrisy, cruelty, and just lack of leadership and empathy at all. And so we're going to be highlighting all of that. I'm just flabbergasted at the corruption that is in this country. Like, as someone who deeply cares about justice, about other people, about leadership, actual real representation, it disgusts me how many people within our government are just out for themselves. And now that doesn't matter their political partisanship. It really doesn't. We know that one party is worse than the other. We know that. But it just disgusts me how we can't even have a real fucking opposition party in this country to things. Every single time Democrats try to, they're like, oh, well, we need to be more moderate. We need to be more sensitive. You're never going to win any Republican votes, no matter how far right you attempt to go. And that is for Hakeem Jeffries. That is for Chuck Schumer. I'm done. I'm done trying to get these people to understand. It is when Democrats start to become more Republican, they lose. So we're going to be breaking down all of that. Another thing, under Donald Trump's ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, they literally arrested firefighters fighting a fire out in Washington State. There's a big fire that's been happening right now. I didn't really know too much about it until I saw this headline. ICE arrests people fighting the fire while they're fighting the fire. It's like, okay, so I guess not burning is woke now? Like, it's just the insanity there. And then, of course, Donald Trump, claiming that, I guess people want dictatorship. No, we fucking don't. I'm just so, the tone of today's live is, I have, like the IHIP ladies, I have had it. I really have, okay? Honestly, if I were to run for Congress today, my slogan would be enough. Because I have had enough of this country. Anyway, make sure to send some links really quickly. Hold on a second. Just realized I had something in my teeth. Okay, so I'm going to start with this here. Now, I used to do live streams over on TikTok. I used to talk a lot about so many different things on those TikTok live streams. And when October 7th happened in 2023, I'm not here to toot my own horn, but I was someone that was really talking about, at the early stages, I'm like, look, no one's going to bat an eye saying, yes, Israel doesn't have the right to defend themselves, but defend themselves in what way? Because it looks like it's becoming a genocide on the other side. And that was in the early days. And now what we're seeing here is that it's yeah, it's an obvious genocide that's happening. It's disgusting. And I really appreciate Adam Friedman, who is a comedian and host of a podcast, for actually speaking up about this, because he used to live in Israel. He is Jewish himself. He is a practicing Jew, as I understand. I could be incorrect about that. And let me just break this down. Do you all know who Richie Torres is? Richie Torres is a black Democratic congressman from the Bronx in New York. Richie Torres. Now, what's so funny is this is one of the most pro-genocide, pro-Israel Democrats that we have. Also, Richie Torres, I will say, is also a gay man, which, love that. I'm a gay person. Though, he's also talked about how he can't find any dates. It's like, yeah, because gay people do not condone or like the fact that you're actively supporting a genocide. Like, you're not going to get any cute guys if you're constantly, like, was it cheering for a genocide? Like, it's just crazy. We're going to be talking about AIPAC here. I know that this isn't starting off with Donald Trump corruption. We're going to be getting to that. There's always so much more to go around. But the reason why I'm sharing this morning is because, look, I am one of these very much like vote blue no matter who when it comes to elections, though it's really starting to test my limits because you have people like Richie Torres continuing to be in the party. Let me just read this out for you all. Please make sure to send some likes. I love all of you. Let me just also be clear about this. Democrats, if you want to do harm mitigation, you vote for Democrats. But let me tell you, it's not going to stop me from talking about the corruption within that party. I also have my own experiences working on Democratic campaigns where literally Hakeem Jeffries suggested, this was on a congressional campaign that I was a part of, suggested, like, oh, well, we're just gonna, he basically torpedoed my job on this campaign because he was like, yeah, why don't you use all the money for field and just put it into digital ads? It was a whole thing. But I want to start with this here. I know it doesn't get the biggest amount of views, but it's important that we talk about this. Yes, Israel is committing a genocide against Gaza. It is against Palestine. I have not talked about this in a long time because we have a lot of stuff happening here at home, but I also just want to be very clear. Our government is funding it. Your taxpayer dollars are going to endless amounts of weapons to kill people. It's true. It's sad. It's true. We want to talk about balancing the budget. You know what we could do? We could stop sending endless amounts of weapons to a government that continues to brutalize people. So this is a genocide. Jewish talk show host. Let me also point this out. This is a Jewish talk show host. A guy who has lived in Israel was like, yeah, Democratic lawmaker, don't tell us what anti-Semitism is. Don't tell us what is anti-Semitic. You have no idea what it's like to walk in a Jewish person's shoes. So why are you saying that you know more about it? It's just crazy. So let's break this all down here. So this is a genocide. Jewish talk show host rips Democratic lawmaker for trying to lecture him about Israel and anti-Semitism. So this is Richie Torres. He is a Democrat from the Bronx. He is a black Democratic lawmaker. He is known for taking tremendous amounts of money from AIPAC. It has also been discovered that he has been doing insider trading, where he is trading stocks on like Lockheed Martin, L3 Harris, the North Gum Group, or however you say it. There are defense contractors that make money off of the sales of weapons to Israel, stuff that he has voted for. This is why we need to get money out of politics, ban stock trades for members of Congress. Now, for anyone who is like, any Republican that's going to come in here and be like, yeah, Democrats are so corrupt. Shut up. Seriously, you have no room to talk. Because if you are angry about Democrats trading stocks, you are angry at Democratic corruption, then I sure as hope that you are boiling over about the corruption that's happening within the Republican Party. I do not want to hear a peep out of you. If you're someone that's like pointing fingers and being like, yeah, look at the Democrats are so corrupt, I don't want to hear a peep out of you. Seriously, I don't. I have no shits to give today because it infuriates me. It infuriates me that people cannot look at this and condemn and criticize and call it out for what it is. It is when Democrats start to move further and further right. When they start to act more and more like Republicans, that these Republican voters will be like, look at these Democrats. Oh my God. It's like, you're the one that is... If you were enjoying Spicy Scott this morning, then send some likes. If you're not, then whatever, okay? But I'm just so tired of people not understanding this like absolute double standard. But anyway, let me just continue here. So this is how the conversation goes. Comedian and talk show host Adam Friedland, sorry if I said Friedman earlier. Friedland tore into Richie Torres, a Democrat from New York, during an interview on Wednesday after the congressman attempted to lecture Friedland, a Jewish former resident of Israel, about anti-Semitism. Imagine the audacity that you have. That's like me trying to lecture someone else about racism if I'm trying to lecture someone who is a person of color about racism. The audacity of feeling like you can do that. It's like It's like a straight person trying to lecture gay people about homophobia. It's like, what? It's so silly. And Friedman was like, I think the hatred of Jewish people has exploded in this country. And I think it's because of our support, our government's support of what is happening for the brutality in Gaza by the Israeli government, said Friedland during an interview. Torres questions, you think that's then a justification for anti-Semitism? You think the Israeli government policy is a justification for anti-Semitism? And he's like, there's no justification. And Adam Friedland is like, I'm a Jewish person who used to live in Israel. I'm simply pointing out that, like, our actions are leading to a rise in anti-Semitism. What does it look like to have a flag with a Jewish star, and I'm Jewish, for kids to then be starving right now? And then Richie Torres sounds like, oh, it just sounds like you're justifying anti-Semitism, which is making me feel, and Friedland's like, are you crazy right now? And I can't imagine what it's like to be Jewish. I'm not Jewish. I might look somewhat Jewish, whatever. I don't know. That's up for other people. I'm blonde hair, blue eyes, so probably not. But, like, what is so crazy is Jewish people do not like what Israel is doing. Jewish people are a huge part of the Democratic Party base. And they were not a fan. They were not a fan of what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were doing. Their approach to everything happening in the the Palestine conflict, which is really a genocide. That's part of the reason that Kamala Harris lost the election, was her continuation of her stance on Biden's policy, which was continuing to fund more weapons to Israel. Like, and it's so funny because there are so many Democrats that are like, oh, we have a messaging problem. No, Democrats, you have a policy problem. You continuing to act like Republicans, continuing to support the defense industry, take money from AIPAC, it is when you start acting like Republicans that you lose. I'm saying that as someone who has worked on progressive Democratic campaigns. I am telling you, it is when all these Democrats are like, oh, these party leaders like Hakeem Jeffries and, Chuck Schumer are like, we have a messaging problem. No, you have a policy problem. The voters are looking at it being like, my hard-earned taxpayer dollars are going overseas to funding endless war and a genocide that's happening in Gaza. Why would I vote for you? Like, of course, we're not going to vote for Trump. Ew, disgusting. We don't want fascism here at home. But we're also not going to vote for Democrats in that sense because it's all of our money going overseas to build more bombs to then do more of this genocide. Like, I voted for Kamala Harris. I did, because I was like, look, I don't want fascism here at home. Though there are many people who I view wrongly, but I understand why they did it, decided, yeah, I don't want to vote for someone that's continuing a genocide. That doesn't mean I like Trump, but like, that is part of the reason why Democrats lost, and we are in this conundrum right now. And Jewish people are on the receiving end of anti-Semitism because partially of what the Israeli government has been continuing to do. It's like the Israeli government and Jewish people are not the same, but there are other people who are ignorant that will view them as the same. And it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating that people like Richie Torres, a black Democratic lawmaker, is saying that he knows what anti-Semitism is and lecturing a Jewish person on anti-Semitism. The audacity. I don't have any fucks. I have no fucks to give. Like, I'm just so over it. Richie Torres is like, it sounds like you're just justifying anti-Semitism, which is making me feel, and Friedland's like, are you crazy right now? Are you crazy right now? And then it goes on. Friedland's like, look, I'm telling you as a Jew right now that we are on the receiving end of a lot more hate because of what the people with a flag that has a Jewish star on it are doing to other people right now, Palestinians. And I'm telling you as a Jewish person how painful it is for us to say, and it hurts my stomach to say, and then you're going to be like, oh, I disagree, that this is a genocide, that it hurts to say that a Jew can do that. It hurts because we grew up with learning what the hatred is. We grew up learning about this. And the same year that the state of Israel was established in 1948, the world saw the Holocaust. And they established standards for what a genocide is. It is the same year that the world said that this shouldn't be a thing that happens. And so then he then continues, me saying this to you right now will hurt people in my own family. I should just be a guy, but this feels like a stain on our history. And it feels like it's changed what it is to be Jewish. It's like being what it is. It's like, because being Jewish isn't Israel. Judaism has existed for 4,000 years. This is the only country that's existed for 75 years. And then Richie Torres was like, I feel like I'm being lectured here. Oh yeah, way to clutch your own pearls, Richie Torres. Way to clutch your own pearls and be like, oh my God, why am I under attack for my ignorance and my complete insensitivity and justification of genocide? Poo-hoo, boo-hoo to me. Shut the fuck up. Seriously, like, how are you going to then turn around and be like, oh my God, this is, I'm on the receiving end of a lecture. Maybe then don't be ignorant. It's so funny, and I'm saying this as a gay man. Richie Torres, also LGBTQ. He's complaining, he's like, I can't find anyone that wants to go on a date with me. Dude, it's because you are apologizing and fueling a genocide. Sorry. No, gay people do not like the oppression of other groups because we know what it's like to be oppressed. So when you're like, oh, I can't get any, it's like, maybe because you are constantly shilling for a group that is doing untold awful things to people. And you know what's so funny? This was back like in 2022, 2021. There was like this person that was like, you do realize that it's like illegal to be gay in like Palestine and Gaza. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay. So is that then supposed to then mean I'm okay with the genocide of a group of people that even though they don't stand up for my human rights, is it supposed to be transactional? Am I supposed to then be like, oh, well, you don't like me, so I'm not going to stand up for you? Like, sorry, no. Let me just put this up here. Many conservatives say, well, it hasn't happened to me, so I don't care. Most liberals, not all, but most liberals will say, oh, it shouldn't happen to anyone, and that's why I care. So I don't want to hear anyone be like, so why are you defending and, you know, like, why are you condemning this genocide happening to a group of people that probably wouldn't stand up for your human rights? Because I'm a good person? Because I call out brutality where it is? So it's just, it's so infuriating. It's infuriating to me. How, like, there will be these people that will then say, oh, well, then you're like, you're defending these people when they probably wouldn't defend you. Yeah, it's not like, justice is not transactional. I'm not going to say like, well, you don't support me, so I'm not going to support you. It's just, it's so stupid. It's so stupid. Plus, also, LGBTQ rights aren't even super strong in Israel because I don't think it's even legal to have a like LGBTQ marriage in Israel. So I don't want to hear anyone talking about that in that sense. So just putting that up there. But it's like, but then it continues on here. I'm getting off track, and I can actually tell you just a quick little thing. I made a post on TikTok. This was a while back. I saved this man's life. And this guy was clearly homophobic, but I still saved him anyway. You know why? Because that's what you're supposed to do. Just because you don't stand up for my human rights doesn't mean I'm not going to stand up for yours. Period. End of story. Like, justice is not supposed to be transactional. It's not supposed to be like, well, like, you know, you vote for my oppression, so I'm going to vote for yours. No. That's not what equality, equity, inclusion, and being woke is. Being woke means that everyone has a voice. It's just funny because there was this one clearly homophobic man that was super, super drunk and he was stumbling around and he fell face first on concrete. And I went over to administer what I was considered like doing first aid. I was just like, you know, do you need something? Can we help you? And he was like mumbling, and I could tell what he was mumbling was homophobic. And I'm just like, I was like, oh God, this guy is so drunk that he probably doesn't even remember, but also it's just obnoxious. But I still saved his life anyway. Why? Because that's the correct thing to do. That's the correct thing to do. And it was funny because once he became a little bit more alert and awake, he was surprised that I was still there. And I could tell that he was like having a change of heart. And so it's important to point out that that's why, like, we're not going to be any sort of, with everything happening between the Israeli government, they continue to oppress and do a genocide against Palestinian people. Anyone that apologizes for that but then continues to fuel it, sorry, I'm going to call you out. Doesn't matter if you have a D or an R next to your name. So this exchange continues, and you know, it's funny because it continues here where he's like, look, I'm a Jewish person and I'm calling this out for what it is. You know, it's disgusting what Israel is doing to Palestinians. It's disgusting what's happening there. And like, and hold on a second. And Torres was like, I feel like I'm being lectured now. It's like, oh, way to put a victim complex on yourself. And then Friedland was like, shut up. The world is seeing something that looks terrible and is being done in my name. My, as in being a Jewish person, as Friedland was saying. And then Torres was like, Richie Torres was like, so it was like accusing Friedland of trivializing and downplaying the October 7th, 2023 attack. And was like, Hamas murdered thousands of people. By the way, let's just pause here. Hamas and Palestinians. Not all Palestinians are Hamas. Not all Palestinians are Hamas. It's a super racist trope to then assume that. If that's the kind of thing, it's like, that's like people from Australia or Britain assuming that all Americans are MAGA. That's not true. All Americans are not MAGA. So for people to make those kind of simplistic statements is just so stupid. It's so stupid. But then he continues here. And like, Torres was like, but you're suggesting that this is the policy of the Israeli government to murder civilians. And that's a notion that I reject. And Friedland was like, listen, man, you got to be a human about this. Do you feel in your heart that what you're saying is right? You don't actually think that? You don't actually think that. And then Congressman was like, you don't tell me what to think. I have not told you. I told you what I believe. And then it's funny because Richie Torres was like, you know what? I'm not going to win this argument, so let me pivot here. So he pivots being like, you know, in the South Bronx, people are not talking about Israel. People are talking about how to put food on the table. People are talking about trying to put food on the table. And, you know, people are struggling. And Friedland was like, oh. Then why, if people are struggling in your district, in your world, why are you paying $25 billion to then fund weapons to the government of Israel? $25 billion. And then Torres was like, that's minuscule. Let me just be clear about something here, okay? You do a quick Google search. This is just the AI overview. We're going to go deep, okay? We have sent, if you adjust for inflation, you adjust for dollars today, $318 billion in aid to Israel since the end of World War II. Now, that includes military and economic assistance. Now, just since October of 2023, that has included $17.9 billion in just military support. In just military support. That's a lot of money. You could open up so many different rural hospitals, increase access to veterans programs, end veterans homelessness, end childhood hunger. You could make a sizable advancement in quelling childhood hunger in this country if we only were to take some of that money, stop some of the money going overseas or being spent on our military, and actually fund it towards making a country worth defending. It was back, I think, it was back in January. I did a big breakdown of how much money our government spends in XYZ places. I don't know if it's posted here on my YouTube, but I did a big thing with that. And you'll be surprised, or maybe not surprised, how much money we spend on defense. How much money goes into defense and into the pockets of deep state weapons contractors. It's absolutely disgusting. So anyway, how are we doing in the chat here? We're going to be pivoting to talk about some of Trump's fascism here in a minute. But I think it's important that we also talk about this. For anyone who is a part of any sort of group of Democrats, it's important to point out that the more that the Democratic establishment tries to chase down the idea of going after the moderate Republican, going after, oh, well, we need to get these moderates. I truly believe that like Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer actually are low-key sabotaging the Democratic Party. I didn't used to believe that, but they're continuing to give the most stupid advice ever. They're not making the Democratic Party into a real opposing fascistic party. They're not making the party into opposing Donald Trump. They are making themselves into Republican light by continuing to take endless amounts of corporate PAC money. $3.18 billion to Israel, $5.2 billion to Palestine since 1994. Not comparable. Who's trying to compare that? That's so stupid. That's so stupid. But like, this is your hard-earned taxpayer dollars. And let me just quickly do a deep dive into AIPAC here. So, are you all familiar with AIPAC? AIPAC has basically bought off lots of politicians. Again, we've spent, y'all, please make sure to send some likes. Please make sure to like the stream. I know we have a lower like ratio today. Let's see if we can improve that. I appreciate every single one of you. Even so, the $17.9 billion spent since October 7th of 2023 in adjusted inflated dollars is by far the most military aid sent to Israel in 1 year. Like, that's crazy. Someone says, I'm using ChatGPT for sources. This is not ChatGPT. Also, it's worth pointing out, this is not ChatGPT. You these people are so crazy. So you can also see here, this is from the State Department. And you can see here how, if you were angry about Joe Biden's approach to handling the genocide happening, trust me, I get it. Though, if you really want to break it down, Marco Rubio is even worse when it comes to this, because this whole thing, he's basically saying, like, the decision to reverse the Biden administration's partial arms embargo, he's like, wrongly withheld number of weapons. We've approved even more money going to FMS sales to Israel, which for those people who are like, what's an FMS? It stands for Foreign Military Sales Program. So it's basically a lot of weapons sales and stuff like that. But again, we've sent so much money to Israel. And also, AIPAC is a group that funds both Republicans and Democrats. And in particular, they have been focusing a lot on these Democratic lawmakers. Because if you can, like, these pro-Israel, these pro-right-wing Israel policy groups are like, look, we just need to get these more moderate Republicans. We just need to get these Democrats to then bend to our whims. Taking AIPAC money means that you're probably going to then lose your election, or you're going to then at some point be, like, the Democratic Party has a lower approval rating than the Republican Party right now. For those people who do not know, I'm saying this as a registered Democrat and a former Democratic political organizer. I worked on several different progressive Democratic campaigns. I was a part of Brand New Congress and Justice Democrats. I was an anchor on TYT before they really went crazy. I am telling you this right now. There are so many Democratic lawmakers that are attempting to try and, like, oh, let's just take money from AIPAC. Let's capitulate to that. How about you be a real opposition party and fight Trump's fascism? How about you do that? You have all these people that take endless amounts of money from the pro-Israeli lobby, AIPAC, the Israeli, or the American Israeli Political Action Committee. That's what it stands for. You have Ron Wyden, there's Maggie Hassan, Alex Padilla, Catherine Cortez Masto, John Fetterman. I shook John Fetterman's hand, and God, he's such a disappointment. Let me show you even more here. But, like, you have, Scott Peters, you have Cory Booker. He's taken a good chunk of money. Chuck Schumer, Kirsten Gillibrand, Adam Schiff, Richard Blumenthal. You know, you also have Maria Cantwell, Mark Warner, Jackie Rosen, John Hickenlooper, Chris Coons. And they purchase, and they basically, AIPAC will destroy the Democratic Party. If people continue to take money from them, they will destroy the Democratic Party. Let me tell y'all a little story. So, my NDA is probably up with this. I used to work on Democratic political campaigns. I used to travel around and work for different people. Y'all, please make sure to send some likes. I love all of you, okay? I'm going to share a personal story here. I used to be a field director for someone running for Congress. And this was back in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 2022. I now work in the corporate world because I needed health insurance. And I do like what I do now. It's just a different skill set. Anyway, I used to be a field director for someone running for Congress. It was a progressive candidate. He was backed by Brand New Congress, Brand New Congress, which is the group that brought AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, Cori Bush, Jamal Bowman, these like super strong progressive leaders of color. And I was working for this guy, and he was seen as the progressive. Then there was another person that jumped in the race who actually, who I'll tell you about in a minute. She's the current existing representative in that district. Anyway, but my candidate was seen as the front runner, favored to win. And I was the field director. I was brought on as a contractor. And, but I was brought on as the field director. We were ramping up our field efforts, everything like that. I noticed my campaign manager being on the phone a lot with our candidate in the other room with someone else. That someone else was Hakeem Jeffries. I'm telling you this as this is a personal story of mine. At some point, I just felt like I knew the day was coming. My campaign manager, you know, just after they used me in my efforts to collect the petition signatures to get on the ballot, then all of a sudden, 3 days later, they said, you know, Scott, we're going to have to terminate you because we're going to use your salary for all digital ads. They started taking a lot of money from I don't know if they took it from AIPAC, but they were also trying to get some super PAC money. It was bad. It was bad. And I could hear Hakeem Jeffries' voice in the other room over the phone. And they suggested that they used my salary as the field director to be used for digital ads. They started going way softer on everything happening with, they started taking AIPAC money. And it got so bad. It got so bad. I know that I'm all over the place today just because it's so emotional for me, but everything that has happened with the Democratic Party has been just such a disappointment when it comes to Israel. And knowing that they continue to try and double down on like taking money from AIPAC, seriously, I feel like that's a strategy to try and weaken the Democratic Party as much as possible. Seriously. Like, it's Jewish people do not like what the government of Israel is doing. It is a genocide. The fact that the state of Israel continues to do genocidal acts puts a target on the backs of Jewish people wrongfully, but it increases anti-Semitism. So, and Jewish people are not the state of Israel. Not always. It's just so, like, everything that, I don't feel like I'm being very, very clear, but you can see my emotion with all of this. It's so frustrating. The Democratic Party continuing to take endless amounts of money from pro-Israeli groups, I truly think is an actual trap where you have these far right-wing interests that infiltrated the Democratic Party and they were lured by money. Part of this is why Kamala Harris lost, was her stance on not doing anything to actually stop what is happening. Like, if she was president, who knows? Maybe it would have been better. Actually, it probably would have been slightly better. because Donald Trump wants to demolish the Gaza Strip and turn it into like a resort. God, that clown. But like, I want a real opposition party. I really want a real opposition party. It's just, God, it's just crazy. It really is. And the fact that like you have endless amounts of Democrats that take money from the state of like, from AIPAC, which low-key, this is just like, it's basically like a foreign country bribing our lawmakers. Countries should not be able to basically like donate to other people's campaigns. I don't know how that's not seen as like fraud or peddling. But also Richie Torres voting to continue endless amounts of like arms to Israel. Well, guess what? He's been also buying and trading stocks for weapons manufacturers that he has invested in. His votes to continue sending arms to Israel, what that has done is he's also bought stocks and seen his wealth increase because of it. Investing in weapons makers that stand to benefit from his own votes. Like, it's just, it's crazy here. So, while urging the White House to speed up bomb deliveries to Israel, Representative Richie Torres was also adding defense contractors like Lockheed Martin and the Northrop Group to his portfolio. And so, like, Torres became one of the most outspoken Democrats in Washington, demanding uninterrupted arms shipments, often breaking ranks with his Democratic colleagues. And so, back when Biden briefly paused shipments of 2,000-pound bombs, Torres lashed out at the decision and joined all the Republicans, to override it. It's when Democrats start acting like Republicans that they lose. They will lose their base. This is why the Democratic Party has a lower approval rating than even Republican Party. That sounds crazy in this day and age, but look, it's true. People in America, they want a real opposition party. They don't want people that are going to take endless amounts of money from AIPAC. They don't want people who are going to be bought by the same groups. We don't want Republicans. And if the Democrats don't actually fight back, people are not going to want them either. It's like both parties are continuing to be like, they have a competition to like figure out how they can be the most disliked by the people. But their real aim is just getting money. It's all about the money. So it's so frustrating. We want progress. Yes, we want progress. And for those people who are like, okay, well, show me the receipts, show me the money. This is the average contributions to members of Congress from AIPAC. You can see here how it's skyrocketed in the years. Again, AIPAC stands for the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. You can see how much it is skyrocketed here. Now, they give money to candidates on both sides of the aisle, about 60 to 40%. This is just AIPAC. When we want to talk about just pro-Israel, all of this is on opensecrets.org if you want to go and check it out. OpenSecrets.org compiles campaign finance data from campaign finance disclosures of candidates and people in Congress. You can see here how it's pretty split 50-50. And you want to just look at the defense contracting, you actually have Republicans taking more. So it's like a bipartisan thing to be the most corrupt when it comes to continuing to like fund overseas wars, conflict. That's why that's why our country continues to fund what Israel is doing. Even though our citizens, we don't want this to continue happening, it continues happening because it's how they make their money. I'm just so over it because governments are supposed to protect people. They're supposed to stand against oppression. They're supposed to stand up for people. This is what makes me want to run for Congress. I'm just beside it. Now, let's move on to our next subject here, because this also baffles me. So it's funny because most of the time I will do a live stream specifically talking about Donald Trump's corruption, how he's a fascist dictator, how all he wants to do is just profit for himself, driving our country mad, completely bending whatever facts of reality, trying to make up for his own fantasy here. I mean, he literally was talking about maybe people just want a dictator. We don't want a dictator, you buffoon. But I saw this headline today, and I'm like, what the actual fuck? Look at this. If you're just listening, quickly look over to the screen. Firefighters arrested in Border Patrol operation while fighting a massive fire. No, you heard me right. So ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement, were like, oh, there are people fighting fires? Who's illegal? Who's illegal? Who's undocumented? They literally stopped people from fighting fires. And they were like, let's arrest these people and deport them. Now, there's still a lot that we don't know. But it's like, it's so stupid. There are people risking their lives to stop a fire, to stop acres from burning, people's houses from being burnt, from turning to ashes, protecting people's property, protecting people's livelihoods. They're risking their lives on the line. Their loved ones have to suffer from the loss if they are lost to a fire. Like, it is just the lowest of the low. It's like the cruelty. The cruelty is the point from ICE. They like to say, oh, we're making America safe. We're making America safe. No, you're fucking arresting firefighters fighting a fire. Just because of the color of their skin? That is so fucking stupid. Why can't people see through this fascism? They will do whatever they need to. They don't need excuses anymore. And there are dumb MAGA people that are like, shut up. Shut up. Is the cruelty the point? Are you so obsessed with owning the libs that you'll literally let our country burn? It's so stupid. Firefighters arrested in Border Patrol operation while fighting a massive fire. And this is from Firehouse. 2 people fighting the Bear Gulch fire on the Olympic Peninsula were arrested by federal law enforcement Wednesday in a confrontation described by firefighters and depicted in photos and video. Why the 2 firefighters were arrested is unclear, but a spokesperson for the incident management team leading the firefighting response said the team was aware of a Border Patrol operation on the fire. Why is there a Border Patrol operation on the fire anyway? Why? Why? Why is ICE, Customs and Border Patrol, why is Immigration Customs, why are they like, oh, look at who's fighting this fire. Is there anyone that we can pick off? Just imagine if you live in a neighborhood. Let's make this hit closer to home. That you live in a neighborhood and you have a neighborhood like police, you have a neighborhood watch group. And you have people in your neighborhood that have elected to be a part of the neighborhood watch group. And let's say that you know them, you know all of them personally. And you'd be like, ICE shows up, Customs Border Patrol shows up, and they're like, okay, I want to see everyone's IDs. And you're like, this is our neighborhood watch group. These are people charged with keeping us safe. Also, we're experiencing, a safety issue right now. And it's like they're arbiters of chaos. They're going in and they're just like, you know what? I know right now that you're fighting something really, really dangerous, but you know what's even more dangerous is the fact that, you know what? We're just going to go through and look for whoever might happen to be in the process of getting their green card or illegal or struggling, trying to figure out. Like, they are really trying to go after and increase their numbers of quotas to people to arrest. The cruelty is the point. It is disgusting. Arresting firefighters while fighting a fire, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they're American citizens or not. Why? Are you pro-fire? Are you pro-burning? It's just like the insanity. The absolute insanity. People, like, it shouldn't matter. When there is a collective problem, crisis, a big fire about to engulf someone's house, it shouldn't matter if they're a citizen or not. If they're helping put out the fire, we can have that conversation afterwards. It's fascism. It's fascism at its core. How do people not see it? How do people not see it? They were like, oh, we're aware of this happening. You know, we're aware of it. Over 3 hours, federal agents demanded identification from the members of 2 private contractor crews. The crews were among 400 people, including firefighters, deployed to fight the wildfire. Border Enforcement, Immigration and Customs, and the Department of Homeland Security did not request to comment. Interesting. It is usual for federal border agents to make arrests during the fighting of an act. It is unusual for federal border agents to make arrests during the fighting of an actual fire, especially in a remote area. On Wednesday, the 2 contract fire crews were sent up to the northeast side of Lake Cushman to cut wood for the local community. They were basically cutting wood so that the fire doesn't spread. So, because if you make like a gap in it, then it makes it harder for it to spread, all that stuff. The firefighters requested anonymity when they were speaking out about this story, but federal law enforcement asked the crews to line up, check their IDs. It's like, you're stopping these people in their job, doing their job to stop a fire. I just have no words. I just have no words. It is so fucking stupid. It's so fucking stupid. And like, I'm at a loss for words. When Americans see this, I'm sorry. If someone is if I'm next to someone and they're helping me put out a fire, I'm not going to be like, are you an undocumented immigrant? If so, I don't want you helping me put out this fire. No. It's like, okay, we can put out the fire here. And people are like, oh yeah, it's the Democrats that are sowing division. I'm sorry, I am not afraid of other people's identities. I'm sorry, I'm not afraid of people based on their skin color, their sexual orientation, their gender identity. Heaven forbid they got piercings and pronouns. Oh my God. Like, and then these people think that we're the snowflakes when all what we want is minimum tolerance. And it's like, these are not criminals. And let me just get to some people's comments here, because these were just telling. There's a picture of what it looked like. Be like, wow, that's fucked. Holding up operations so they can play Gestapo. Stop these spineless clowns. It's like, they better have hard evidence of some serious crimes that these 2 guys were wanted for. Otherwise, they can fuck all the way off with this bullshit. If you're going to detain an entire hand crew during the largest active fire in Washington, those dudes better be wanted for murder. We're so fucked to the highest degree. Over 3 hours, federal agents demanded identification from the members of 2 private contracting crews. The crews were among 400 people, including firefighters, deployed to fight the fire. It's like, it's just like the absurdity of this administration. The fire is, from my understanding, fairly unprecedented, being that Olympic Peninsula is a rainforest and apparently the newest glaring example of the climate rapidly changing. Their priority? Arrest hardworking immigrants risking their lives to protect our country and our natural resources. Not to mention that they have cut all climate science funding from every department that they can. It would be hilarious if it wasn't so existentially depressing. This is some serious bullshit. I saw the customs vehicles today, in fact, in PA. Interference with the firefighters is such a low branch to pull from. Absolutely ridiculous and appalling. What a bunch of goons. These folks save lives and land while risking their own in the process. Goons cover up to hide their faces. Yeah, meanwhile, these people who are arresting them are so cowardly they don't even show their faces. So it's just like... It's so funny that they were like so against masks, but then they're wearing masks. They're wearing masks to go out and arrest people. It's like, do you need a mask for that? God, it's so stupid. So stupid. Must be embarrassing to do such a job. Not to mention, how can they even sleep at night? Now, if you're like, okay, Scott, today's live has been really, really crazy, full of emotion. I get it. You want to know the one thing that really keeps me going? You want to know the one thing that really gets me going? Knowing that Donald Trump is dying. Seriously, that sounds morbid, but actually, no, that's what really keeps me going. Knowing that Donald Trump is dying. Like, This is a guy who is just so unhinged in so many ways, knowing that Trump is not well, actually low-key gives me hope. Gives me hope. This is a guy who says that he can do anything he wants because he's president. This is a guy who is saying, like, oh, I have the right to do all of that stuff. I'm president. Sorry, no one is above the law. No one is above the law. Not you, not me. No one is above the law. So, like, knowing that Donald Trump is not doing well actually gives me hope. Seeing the bruising on his hands, seeing the muffin top cankles that he's developing. I mean, he's obviously experiencing some health problems. Usually, I'm going to be like, oh yeah, you know, I hope that you feel better. I have a lot of empathy for people. Even, as I said, I saved a homophobic guy's life. This was a couple years back when I lived in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. But, like, I have a lot of empathy for people, even if they're absolutely cruel towards me. But sorry, I have no empathy for Trump whatsoever. None. Because he doesn't have any empathy towards other people. He doesn't. Under his actions, they were arresting firefighters. People who were fighting fires. So sorry if I don't have the tiniest bit of empathy for a guy who is incredibly pro-cruelty. You can see his cankles swelling up. And you can also see Queen Elizabeth, 2 days before she died, these were her hands. Bruised. Now, bruised hands don't mean that you are dying. It's not so simplistic. I'm not a crazy person where then you can like, oh, bruised hands means that you're dying. No, it's just an indicator of not great health. Usually bruised hands means that you're getting IV injections or you're on certain drugs. I'm not a medical professional. It can be an indicators of a little bit poorer health. Knowing that Donald Trump's hands look like this right now show that he is not in the best of health. And what's so funny is this person was like, let's go heart disease. And it's like, that bruise is not going away no matter how much he tries to hide it. And the bruise there is just Jeffrey Epstein's face. And so more people kept posting that over and over. But, you know, this is also a guy, let me rewind this back here real quick, hold on. Where's the picture? Not only is Trump not doing super well, but he also has been talking a lot about heaven. When you get towards the end of your time, when you are elderly or when you've kind of been told that you might have a limited amount of time, you start to ponder the afterlife. And Donald Trump literally said that he's worried about not getting into heaven. You only really start talking like that if you fear that you're getting close to the end. So he says in here that he's really pushing for Ukraine and Russia to have peace. A quest he's told is not going very well. And that he's trying to get to heaven, which many people are like, yeah, you're not doing well with that either. He said, if I can save 7,000 people a week from being killed, I think that's pretty, I want to get into heaven if possible, you know, but I hear I'm not doing very well. I hear that I'm really at the bottom of the totem pole. What's so funny is Donald Trump literally said that. He literally said, I'm hearing that I'm not doing well. I hear that I'm really at the bottom of the totem pole. And he's also acknowledging that. It's so interesting that, you know, like, there's so many people that just completely void themselves of critical thinking whatsoever. The Queen had the same bruising on her hand. Also, I just want to point out, Caroline Leavitt at one point was talking about, oh, well, he has bruising on his hands from so much handshaking. Oh, he's been shaking hands with people. That's why his hands are bruised. You know, Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary. Oh, his hands are bruised because of all the handshakes. Well, it's like you don't get it from handshakes. And you can see it here. This is Queen Elizabeth's hand. But it's so funny. It's like, okay, let me put two and two together. Y'all remember J.D. Vance and the Pope? Y'all remember J.D. Vance and the Pope? J.D. Vance meets the Pope. This was back like in Easter. I believe this was this Easter. He meets the Pope. And within 24 hours of meeting the Pope dies. Now, let me pause here. There's no evidence to show that J.D. Vance meeting the Pope was the cause of death. Though, to be very, very fair and clear, there's not evidence that that was the reason. So, the Pope, it's so funny because people were like, oh yeah, well, the Pope decided to give up 24 hours after meeting Vance. You know, like, he just decided to peace out. And J.D. Vance went to shake his hand. So, my whole joke, this is not an actual theory, this is not something I believe, I'm just simply stating, because I think it's funny. By right-wingers' logic, has J.D. Vance been shaking Trump's hand so much to the point where it's starting to turn dark? Meaning that he could kill him. Like, using right-wingers' own logic. Caroline Leavitt says that shaking hands with people is what is making his hands bruised. So is he shaking J.D. Vance's hand? J.D. Vance's hand making it go bad? It's just, just think about it. And like, you remember when they met? This is what it looked like. This was this was a picture from J.D. Vance. It's kind of scary. It's kind of scary. So like, anyway, it gets, I'm feeling much more hopeful in this moment that, you know, like, I don't like to relish in this because I really don't. Though I get a little bit of hope knowing that Donald Trump is not in the best of health. It makes me feel happy because this is not a guy who cares about other people. His cabinet meetings the other day were showered with endless amounts of childish praise, like some sort of toddler that learned to go toilet on their own. Thank you, Elisa. We are not a debate channel. Anyone that comes up here would be like, come debate with me. No, we're not a debate channel, because even the things that you try to make up for debate are just not. They're not up for debate. So anyway, I have to go here. I appreciate every single one of you. For those people, I know today's live was kind of all over the place. I hope that people learn something from it. I hope that, you know, you're able to take stuff away from it. If you want the live kind of in just like a quick little nutshell, number one, if Democrats really want to win elections, they need to stop taking money from AIPAC. They need to stand against the genocide happening. Seriously, if Democrats want to win elections, they need to go all out. Stop capitulating to Donald Trump, stop capitulating to fascism, go all out in fighting it, and stop taking money from AIPAC. Stop taking endless amounts of money from the wealthy corporations. You hear that, Ken Martin of the DNC? It's not a messaging problem. It's not a messaging problem. Democrats are smart. They are looking at it being like, what are your policies? If your policies are progressive, then great, we'll support you. If not, sorry, we're just not going to. Like, seriously, it is a lot of Democratic consultants, the mainstream establishment part of the party, and I've used to work within progressive campaigns, a part of the Democratic part, not a part of them, but like I used to work on progressive Democratic campaigns. I also had to deal with some of the Democratic Party apparatus. I'm telling you unequivocally, DNC, if you're hearing me, probably not, stop trying to get Republican votes. You're not going to get them. But the real reason that the Democratic establishment constantly tries to court these like moderate anti-Trump Republicans is because they don't want to be progressive. They don't want to embrace progressive policies. They spit on their base. They spit on them every chance they get. The Democratic establishment would rather lose to fascism than actually win against them by promoting good policies that help everyone. Because they would rather take money and lose, take money from wealthy corporate interests and lose, than actually win, do real representation, do real reparations, do real actual representation for people, real progress. They'd rather take money, become wealthy, and lose than actually do anything to serve their country. Those are the same kinds of cowards that are part of the Republican Party in that sense. It's just... So that was point number one. Point number two, the Trump administration with the ICE Customs Border Patrol enforcement arresting firefighters while they're fighting fires. These people putting their lives on the line to protect this country, whether they are official citizens or not. You arresting them is an act of cruelty. Like, what the actual fuck? Seriously, are you going that low to try and arrest people that are are stopping fires? It's disgusting. The cruelty is the point. So that's why number three, I don't have empathy for Trump. Sorry, I don't care. Boo-hoo. You know, it's like, I'm not going to give empathy to people who are never going to give empathy to other people. It's not how that works. It's not how that works. So I'm actually quite... It gives me a little bit of hope knowing that the king is dying. The king is dying. The dictator is starting to die. And America is going to have... It's going to be a very, very, very bright day when he finally passes. So, I appreciate every single one of you. Even if you don't like me, I need to get to work. Shout out to my amazing moderators. I hope that this live stream was informative, educational. You don't always have to agree with my opinions. You never have to agree with my opinions, okay? You don't. I just hope that this allows you to hear maybe some other perspective, but then also just, I'm here to share the information with you. If you come to a different conclusion, then work, fine. But like, anyway, I appreciate every single one of you. Today I had a lot of trolls. Yeah, 100%. But I appreciate every single one of you, even if you don't like me. Shout out to my amazing moderators, Kantisa, Akicha, Ilisa, Ellie, Kate, Jenny, Joanna Tech, Cherie. I love all of you so much. I could not do any of this without you all, and you all know that. Seriously, I love you all. So just remember that you are beautiful, that you are loved, that you are valid, that you are strong, and that you are fierce. Don't let anyone or anything ever dim your shine. I love all of you so much. Bye!